Hello, hello, hello. We are back. We are back. I've been gone for a couple of weeks, but we are back, and I am happy and delighted to have Taisha with us today. It is a pleasure, an honor to have her. Those of you who follow, I've been gone for a couple of weeks. I took a much needed vacation. The wife and I went to Central America, Panama. Had a great time. Spent about 8 days in Panama. Did really well. I got sick like the last day. Whenever we travel, especially international, I've gotten sick more often than my wife. I don't understand what it is. She uh, she has the more tender stomach, but I guess I'm the one that's getting sick. So some of our international trips, I've been the one to get sick, but it was fine. Outside of that, it was great. Had a wonderful time. The Panama is a city that is a large dichotomy, right? There is, where we stayed, I guess would be considered sort of middle class. It was restaurants, hotels, businesses, schools, people walking up and down the street. There's all types of bars and restaurants that you can eat at. So we were, walked out of our hotel and we were in the midst of numerous different restaurants that we could eat at. But right around the corner, that was, area of severe poverty. And I had never seen poverty like I saw in Panama, Central America, right? Um, it is my wife and I went to a museum, African American museum, and there they taught us the whole history of the Panama Canal. And for those of you who don't know, the Panama Canal was initially started by the French. They couldn't complete it because of cost and the number of people that were dying. The United States took it over. The United States, being the United States, brought in Americans, white Americans, and they created this two-tier system. They called it gold and silver. As you can imagine, the gold were white people, and they were treated completely different than the silver or people of African descent. Just almost like slavery without the word slavery. It was just gold and silver. Eventually, the United States managed to finish the Panama Canal at great cost. So anywhere between 55,000 and 75,000 people lost their lives trying to build this thing. It is an awesome human feat if you see it live. It saves millions and millions and millions of dollars. Those people crossing from the Atlantic to the Pacific or vice versa as well. But one of the things that was really interesting, and the United States being the United States, and those who don't know the history, Jimmy Carter decided when he was president he would allow the Panama people to have the canal back. Like really, it's their land. But what spurred that is that there were some high school kids in Panama who wanted to plant the Panama flag near the canal. Now, this is in their country. The U.S. soldiers didn't take too kindly to that, and they shot and killed, I think, 9 of the kids, or 4 or 9 of the kids. And at that point, Panama started asking the United States and the military to leave because it was a huge military base there at the time. So they started asking the U.S. To leave. But it's a very interesting. The Panama Canal was extremely interesting. We did some other things, and I will talk about it in the weeks to come. But again, had a great time, enjoyed it. I never saw that type of poverty. There were areas that were, rich and on the waterfront, and those people, enjoyed a great life. But I've never seen, my wife and I, we were actually literally walking over human feces, trying to get from one museum to the other museum. People were living in huge condemned structures, multiple structures. These were thousands of people, no electricity, no power. The buildings were condemned, so the government didn't charge them rent because the buildings were so condemned and so beat up. Trash was everywhere. I'm not talking like a little trash. I'm talking about bags and bags and piles of trash every 2 feet. Like you couldn't even, I've never seen this type of poverty in my life. And so it was crazy, but a good experience. Those of you who've never been to Panama, it is go down to Central America. We've been to Central America, we've been to South America, but I do recommend Panama just to say that you've had the experience. Panama is one of those places that people often talk about expat. We need to, leave, and it's always on the top 5 list of places that Americans can retire to. It is now off my list. I didn't see enough to make me want to go, and maybe I needed to get with some expats or some other people. but at least Panama City. And I have no desire to live in the outskirts of a major city in Central or South America. That's just not my thing. So I thought Panama City would be a little different. So I was disappointed from that standpoint, but it is what it is. So with that, and so as I said before, Taisha is with us today. I'm so happy. Thank you for joining us. Before we get to her, let me just say thank you to her, as I always do, because she's responsible for me being here and pushing me to do this. So I'm always thankful to her, as well as my wife, my awesome wife, Salima. Thank you for being supportive in the background and whatever. Thank you so much. And so, Taisha, let us know what's going on with you.
I just want to start off and say, why you lying to these people? You know you went down there on a mission trip with your church. So stop lying. Quit lying to these folks. All right. All is well. Oh my gosh. Today we just walked into I'll show everybody into our where I'm at, third trimester. So yes, third trimester, our baby girl be here in, oh my gosh, about 12 or so weeks. So I'm feeling good. I'm trying to, now that I found this burst of energy, put it to use, upload some content, get organized. I think the nesting phase is starting to set in because I want to just rearrange everything. But other than that, I'm doing all right. Happy to be here.
Great, fantastic. I see we got some people to join us. Amanda, thank you for joining us. I'm glad that you're here. OG, was it Geezer? Is that Geyser or Geezer? He said, "Hey, welcome back." 4,000 slaves died in that project. I think it actually was more than that. They, like I said before, they told us, and this is at the museum, and we had a wonderful, wonderful African American lady, um, African Panamanian lady who walked us through the tour. She said 55 to 75,000 people died, but the number of people that worked on the project itself Oh, there we go. I'm back. So if you look at those numbers, it probably was a lot more than 4,000, but it was a tremendous amount of people. They died because of disease, dynamite, because they had to use dynamite to blast the area. It's just crazy. And I think it took like 12 or 14 years to build, so it was crazy. But again, glad to have you guys here. Today's topic is going to be fasting and praying. Taisha sent me a quick text while I was out of the country, and she was like, "We need to talk about this. What about this?" I said, "Perfect, thank you, yeah, absolute perfect." So we will get into fasting and praying. I just wanted to, before we do that, as I've tried to make a practice of, I'm going to just talk about something that has happened over the last week or so, dealing with social media or
Do it.
some of the information that some of the things that I encounter on my social media page. As I've told you guys before, and I tell you guys every week when I'm here, I'm active on social media. A lot of my stuff, people say that it offends the religious crowd, especially on my Facebook. So I do Facebook posts and memes. I have this Sunday morning thing that I call Good Morning Saints. And what I normally do is post some type of meme or something about Christianity or religion or God or whatever. It usually offends the Christian people, and I get a lot of pushback in comments. It's wonderful. So if you guys want to take a look at some of that stuff, you can follow me on my Facebook page, which is WC O'Neal, Oneal. So definitely be happy to have you guys there. But this past Sunday, I posted a meme that I got from somewhere, and it was basically a synopsis of what Christianity is. Basically, some guy in the sky impregnating some woman to have his child so he could take the child's life as a sacrifice to him. And then we go to church and partake of the blood and, symbolic cannibalism, so forth and so on. And I caught it. And obviously, of course, we had a couple of people who kind of got offended. And then there was a guy who came on, and this guy is I think he's a Hebrew Israelite, or at least close to. And I follow him. I don't really follow him. He's on my timeline, and I see some of the stuff that he posts. I usually don't say anything because it's his page, and Hebrew Israelites, you can present facts to them, and they still would just say, "No, I believe this." So I usually kind of stay out of it unless I'm challenged. I have approached them on the street and had deep discussions with 10 of them, and my wife had to pull me away. Uh, but um, but in particular thing, so he actually commented on my post and said, "Brother, I agree with you. Christianity is not real because it's not biblical, blah blah blah, and it was created by the Gentiles." So I said, "Okay, whatever, brother." And so I said to him after that, I said, of course, I'm always going to have a comeback. So I said, of course, I said, well, the Bible is not real either. And so a couple of days passed, and a mutual friend DM me and said, you know, this guy is Hebrew Israelite. He's just looking for a fight. I said, oh, I know. I know. Trust me, I know. So the guy comes back and says to me, well, he said, the Bible is real. It's actual history. I said, first of all, which Bible? And then he comes back and he says, he basically named all the Bibles, the Old Testament, the first 5 chapters of the Old Testament, the New Testament, the Bible that predates the King James Version, pretty much all of them. So I said, all right, brother. I said, listen, let me make this real quick and real easy to you. You're saying that the Bible is real and that it's historical and that it's factual. I said, I'm going to give you 3 foundational events in the Bible, and all of these foundational pieces have been proven to be fictional. I said, that in itself would tell you that the Bible is not real. I said, first of all, the creation story. Second of all, the great flood. And third, the Exodus story. I said, there is zero evidence that any of these events took place. As a matter of fact, there's evidence that these things didn't take place. And we know that the creation story is not real. And so he goes back and forth. Well, just because the white man, this is exactly what he's saying. Just because the white man said it's not, that don't mean that it's not. I said, brother, the fact that evolution is taught in schools, universities, and colleges, and creation is not, is proof that evolution is more plausible, and is the thing that we stand on right now, and not the creation story. I said, we know where the great flood story came from, the story of Gilgamesh and other stories that predate Christianity. And obviously, I hope that you really don't believe. No, then and I said, and then there's even been Israelites or Hebrew historians would tell you that the Exodus never happened, never occurred. There is zero evidence of an Exodus of Hebrew slaves from Egypt. Even Egyptian history taught nothing about it, right? And so he goes back and forth. I said, listen, you can say what you want to say. I said, until you can prove to me that those things are real and you cannot, then we don't have a discussion. And so then he get into, well, where's your evidence? I said, brother, you're the one that's saying that the Bible is real, but I'm telling you what the evidence is.
The burden of proof is on you.
Exactly. But then I said, I'm going to go a step further. I said, I'm going to give you a couple of books to read. I said, read Sapien and read Before the Dawn. And then I gave you a third book. I said, so he said, well, I need to know what chapter and verses what you're talking about. I said, bro, I just gave you a whole book. I said, as a matter of fact, let me tell you this. I said, I've written a book about this stuff. I said, I've published a book about this stuff. It's 2 years on out there, and I take all challengers. I said, and in that book, there is references to what I'm talking about. And then at the end of the book, there is a whole list of references in other books that you can refer to. So I gave him the name of my book, which is From Saved to Sane.
I gotta step away for 1 second, okay?
Yeah,
but I'm gonna still listen, okay?
Yeah, go ahead. So I told him my book is From Saved to Sane, Journey Away from Christianity and Why Christianity has been detrimental to the African American community. And I told him to he can pick it up on Amazon. So we kind of go back and forth, but that's just kind of how my day went. And then the brother who knows the both of us sent me another DM said, I love the way that you totally destroyed the Hebrew Israelite. And by the way, I just bought your book, and then my wife just bought your book. So it did well. You know, I sold a couple of books. Hopefully he bought the book, and hopefully he's gonna do some reading or at least do the research. And so that's the kind of things that I encounter when we do when I post something and we have memes or we have a discussion on my social media page. I also do the same thing on TikTok as well. But today we wanted to get into fasting and praying. Let me read some of these comments, see who's joined us. Yeah, I was frozen. I'm no longer frozen. So I woke up and so you woke up and choosing violence. I do it every Sunday. I do it more often, but usually I make sure that I do it on Sunday. I post what I'm posting on Sundays. On that, I don't know if Taisha is back yet. Okay, so she's back. Let me bring her back in. All right. So Taisha's back. So yeah, I choose balance on Sundays because I think it's just the best day, right? Because I'm not in church, and so I
Happy
do
Sunday,
it.
Saints. Is what you put up. Happy Sunday. No, you put out Good Morning, Saints.
I said, "Good morning, saints." I do it, and so there's always a method to my madness.
Mhm.
I do it because I want the people who are headed to church to have something to think about. And since they're going to church and they have reference or they have people that they can ask these questions to, if there's something that I post that they disagree with, it is fresh on their mind. So why not approach your pastor or your Sunday school teacher or your deacon or whoever, your elder or whatever you want to call these people in the church now, and ask them some of these questions or bring these questions to their attention. Listen, there's this guy I follow on social media and he's saying A, B, C, and D, and let's see how your elder minister, Sunday school teacher, whatever, responds to these questions. So yeah, I choose balance on Sundays. Um, Somebody said sounds almost like abortion. How can it be history with no dates? OG, that's another thing I said to this guy. I said the Bible has no dates, so it cannot be history. Absolutely, totally agree. TLX, thank you for joining us. Good to have you back. I'm happy to be back. I'm excited. I'm glad. My wife was like, I know you can't wait to get back. I said, I can't wait to get back to my tribe, my people. So this is really, really, really great. So we will get into fasting and praying. And guys, please send us your questions or comments and we'll just get this going. I'm gonna let Taisha kind of start. It was something that she I wanted to talk about it as well, but she definitely brought it to my attention.
Yes,
Sharon,
let me
what's going
find
on,
it.
Sharon? How you doing, Sharon? So I guess we'll start off talking about the fasting part. And so while she's doing that, full disclosure, I do what's called intermittent fasting. It has nothing to do with religion. It has everything to do with wanting to be healthy and wanting to lose weight. So I've been doing intermittent fasting really. My wife's been doing it for years, but I've been wholeheartedly doing it since February. We're older, we go to the doctor. Doctor
Mhm.
says, everything checked out except diet. And so I said, well, doctor, how can I fix X? Well, you don't need medication. I'm not taking medication anyway, but he said, you don't need medication. You probably just need to lose maybe 10% of your body weight, which for me would be like 20 pounds at the time.
Mhm.
Um, and so my wife was like, listen, the best way for you to do that is do intermittent fasting. And I said, no, 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 no. I'm not, I need to eat breakfast and lunch. But she said, no, you'll get used to it. And true enough, we've been doing this since February. I do not miss eating. I eat roughly between 3 and 10. I think Taisha, you went out for a second. You're not on the screen anymore.
Oh, I'm not.
So
I'm here.
I usually eat between 3 and 10. I eat a major meal snack. It would be nuts and fruit. So and it's done well. So I think I've lost at this point since February. I've lost about 25 pounds
Oh, that's what's up.
since February. Yeah. So I've lost 25 pounds. Let me see.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, about 25 pounds. But it has nothing to do. So my fasting, intermittent fasting, has nothing to do with spiritual or religion whatsoever. I do it because it's a health thing for me. So with that being said, I will let Taisha get into the whole fasting and praying thing, and we will go from there.
All right. I would like switch screens and like show like the screen capture, but how it started was I scroll Facebook and like I think it was Amanda MBS said you wake up choosing violence. So I scroll Facebook and Facebook gets on my nerves now because it's I don't know. It's just getting on my nerves. But I came across this post where this brother posted. It was like, it says, sometimes our prayers don't get answered the way we want them to be answered because we don't fast along with those prayers. If you're asking God for something, a little humility and biblical fasting and seeking God through word and prayer goes a long way. Fasting is a great way to check the flesh, strengthen God's spirit and prayers. God is love and only love can make miracles. And I just laughed at it and scrolled on. So, brother man, he comes to my inbox and he's like, I noticed you laughed at my Christian centered post. Long story short, it was the children of this world use the principles of fasting to lighten their loads and heal their bodies and connect to the heavenly creator through their denying of the flesh. Please don't scuff at my post, whatever. And I thought it was so funny because I'm like, we are all grown on Facebook. Facebook is now known as where the old people gather. So I don't see
Mm-hmm. It
children
is.
on there. The children, they're on Snapchat. They're somewhere else. They're not old enough to be on social media. They're watching Coco Melon, and I just had to laugh at it again. And I just screenshot it before he blocked me. And that's one thing I thought about was this whole fasting and prayer. And my thing of it is how it was presented to me in the church coming up is, you need a bill paid, go fast and pray, go to your prayer closet, you go in there and deny yourself a meal. I'm like, but the bill still ain't getting paid. Or you have this fire burning in you, you lusting, you go in there in your prayer closet, you fast and you pray until you come out and you don't want to lust and had that fire anymore, but you hungry. And that's one thing that it never made sense to me, because my thing of it is the things that people that I've known and I've come into contact with were fasting from were things you shouldn't be doing in the first place. Like, if you got to take a fast from weed, maybe you shouldn't be smoking weed. If you got to fast from having a lot of promiscuous sex, you shouldn't be doing it. You know what I'm saying? It's just things that people should be doing in the first place. And it made me think about when I first came here to Georgia. I'm pretty sure that this person is not watching that took me there. But I went to this church for today's Wednesday, for Bible study. And the topic just happened to be on fasting and stuff like that. And so they're like, you need to fast, keep on eating what you want to eat. Make sure you take your medicines, or if you don't eat, you abstain from food, take your medicines. I'm like, that don't make sense, because most time you gotta take your medicines with food. But at the conclusion of the Bible study, I saw they were like serving refreshments. And I'm like, is this Bible study or like a rehab meeting? Because they had big old bag of Domino sugar, that white and yellow bag of Domino sugar, serving coffee at 9 o'clock at night. I'm like, who does that? And it's like everybody going to go get it. Little kids, like, hey, Jaquavion, where your mom and them at? Why are you eating, drinking this coffee, pouring all this sugar in there? And I'm like, didn't he just talk about fasting? It was like all over the place. So that's why I reached out to you. So I'm like, this is a topic that I haven't talked about, but also I was like, this is great to talk about this whole fasting and praying, because many people I knew who partake in the Daniel fast still fat, and they still have unhealthy habits. So I was like, let's be real about that.
Yeah, I think kind of like you. First of all, before I get to my comments, let me say hello to Neo X Philosophy and me. I would love to do an interview. I think it said I just came on live. I want to do an interview with you all. I would love to. It's Taisha as well. Hopefully she will. She doesn't mind. So we can set it up. We can do that later. But I
Hey,
appreciate
Mama
that.
Sharon.
Hey, I know Sharon is on too. Sharon from Arizona. Sharon, our friend. Amanda, we said hi to you already. Media Engagement Solutions. Hello, glad to have you. I think this is your first time. I don't remember name, but if it is, thank you. Glad that you're here. If it's not, then welcome back. So for me, I'm kind of like you, Taisha. I've never, in 40 years in the church, I've never understood the whole fasting thing. I understand the theory behind it is to show humility to God, in a sense, or go without to show that, or people would say you need to deny yourself of something because it helps you to get closer to God. From a logical standpoint, and this is why we do this show, because I want my people to think critical about stuff and be logical in their thought process. How does that make logical sense? I'm denying myself, especially when it's something like eating or whatever it is. How does that help me to get closer to this so-called God, right?
I
Uh,
find it where when I don't eat, I'm going crazy, because there's certain things
because
I
that's what
think
I'm thinking about.
you get hangry and
Yep.
you're not making good choices. Then when you do finally eat, you just pick anything to satisfy that craving. Then you regret, like, I shouldn't have ate that, but you should have had balance throughout that day. But your problems are not spiritual problems. They have an antecedent, a behavior, and a consequence. So you have to address that in real life.
Yep, yep. And then secondly, the whole humility. Why do I have to show humility to a all so-called all-powerful, all-knowing God? I just never really understood that. So I think I've always felt that this is one of those. traditions that we just happen to do because it's in the Bible or someone in authority within the church told us this is something that we should do. There is nothing logical or practical or definitive about any results that this has. It changes absolutely nothing. Whether you fast and pray or whether you fast and do without and ask God, I don't, it all to me, it always goes back to why am I begging this so-called God who's supposed to be my father, who's supposed to love me more so than I love myself? Why am I jumping through hoops and doing all kind of mind games to make this God do something that I want him to do? Right? Don't make any sense to me. I'm not a parent, but I am an uncle, and I have a niece and nephew who I love dearly. If I saw them in distress and I had the ability to help them, they wouldn't even have to ask me. They wouldn't have to beg me. They wouldn't need intercessory prayer with 15 other people to get Uncle Willie to help them. If I see them in distress and it's in my power to help them, then that's what I do because it's called unconditional love. So I've never got this whole, we got to show God that we, first of all, why do you have to show God anything if he's an all-knowing God? He knows the end result. So again, the purpose of this channel, the purpose of my channel is to get our people, especially when it comes to religion, spirituality, to really think about stuff before we do it. Are we just doing it because it's a habit? Are we doing it because it's tradition? Do we even look for any tangible results, right? Can we validate that is it quantitative that there are results to this fasting that we do? And the same thing with prayer, and we'll get to prayer in just a second. But I just never really understood the whole why we gotta fast. If it's not for health reasons, then this whole I want God to answer my prayer fasting is crazy to me. It's whack. It makes no sense. Even when I was in the church, part of the church, I didn't understand that, and I just wasn't too keen on that.
You might as well go outside and do a rain dance.
Exactly.
It's not gonna change anything, or I don't know.
So media engagement said Daniel fasters are still fat. they all are fat. They might even be fatter. Media engagement. But you're right. It does nothing, and I don't think that their prayers get answered either. TLX. I know this pastor. They thought he would fast. He ended up in the hospital with low glucose count. Again, the dangers of this stuff, we go overboard without really understanding why we're doing it and if it really makes sense. I hate it for that pastor, but that's part of, I read there's a meme out there saying that somebody said that, only religion makes otherwise sane people do crazy stuff. And that's true. I know some really, really intelligent, some really, really smart people, some really down to earth, grounded people. However, when it comes to religion, they just totally lose their mind, and they have this thought process and they engage in these activities. And I'm just scratching my head like, but I really had you pegged for somebody who was at a higher intellectual level. But yeah, religion makes people do some really weird things. Amanda, I am not a nice person when I'm hungry. Don't look, wave, or smile at me. I think that's most of us. I think that's most of us. What's the word, Taisha? Hangry? Hangry? Is that the word?
Hangry,
Yeah.
yes.
And so TLX said I was indoctrinated. I was too, but the one thing, my mother, as devout as she was, we never really got into the whole fasting thing. And I'm glad for that. I don't, we did everything else. We did everything else, but I don't remember us really being big. I knew people who did fast, and they talked about it in church services all the time, and they pray and they did sermons on it, and and we may have engaged in it at some point, or my mother may have engaged in it without me knowing it. But it wasn't something that was really big in our household. The whole fasting thing. So yeah. So either you have any comments about fasting, any reasons? Fasting historically, from a history standpoint, it kind of started like the 1600s. The Greeks take they take responsibility. They take claim for everything that's supposedly good or great. I have my beliefs that they probably got it from somewhere in Africa, like they do most things. But historically, credit is given to the the Greeks for starting fasting, and it was done for health reasons initially. Then it was, it morphed into spiritual reasons or whatever. But that's where we are, and we've kind of taken it up, and now we all kind of do that. I don't, when I say we all, talking about religious people, Christians, particularly. I'm not sure if it, the benefits of it. I don't see any benefits. I don't know anybody who really got any benefits. Obviously, they'll tell you that it cleared their mind, it made them feel closer to God, it showed humility to God. To me,
It
that's all
absolutely
subjective.
could happen. Yeah,
What's that?
it absolutely could happen because this is a time where they say they're taking this time out to focus on God, but actually focusing on yourself. If you're like, okay, I'm going to drink, water for the 21 days, your body's been craving it and needing it. So you're actively, paying attention to your body. If you say, okay, I'm going to incorporate more organic fruits and vegetables and not, fast food or not any coffee, yeah, you will start feeling better because these are things you should be doing in the first place. Like there's a DaVita dialysis within walking distance of each other. So this is stuff that you
All
need
over the
to
place.
do, but you shouldn't need like, oh, I'm doing this for the Lord. No, you're doing it for yourself and your longevity and also your family. Because if something happens to you and you can't take care of yourself, you are a burden on your family. So why not do that to yourself? Tell yourself the truth. I want to focus and get my priorities straight, and I'm holding myself accountable. It has nothing to do with I want to be pleasing in the eyes of God, because who knows if God even has eyes. Okay, so be real with yourself.
Yep. Hey, Beige Price, glad to have you. Greetings, greetings. Yeah, if you're going to fast from our standpoint, and this is a completely secular thing, to me, do it because it's good for your health. As I said at the top of this, I do intermittent fasting, but it's strictly for health reasons. And so I do feel better. I'm healthy. I've lost a ton of weight. I was never big to begin with, but I was bigger than what I need to be, bigger than what I wanted to be. So I'm at a really, really good weight. And so we're happy with that, and we'll continue to do the intermittent fasting thing, but it won't have anything to do with religion or spirituality to be, because it's the right thing to do from a health standpoint. Sharon said, and then we'll move on to praying. Sharon said, I'm tired of the Jim Jones syndrome that exists in religion. The church pushes fasting and everything that's supposed to automatically given. Yeah, I mean, the church is, it is monolithic. It is a bunch of followers. It is the thing, and so here's the thing that I said this before. Someone asked me one day, we had a discussion as to why I was doing this kind of stuff, why I was talking about religion, why I posted about it, and why really soon here I'll be in school for it. Um, I said because I want to see religious people, especially African Americans, because we are so devout and we are overwhelmingly, disproportionately religious and Christians. I want to see us. I want to see us be able to think through the religious process. And I told him, I said, I feel like this is the one area in our life that we turn off our brains. Everything else we're critical about, or we use critical analysis, or we think our way through, whether it be a job, whether it be even in relationships, even though some of that is emotional, at some point we do kind of try to use logic in relationships, right? But when it comes to religion, there is zero logic. As a matter of fact, you have to be illogical to be a believer, right? And they tell you that it's all about faith. Don't trust your eyes, don't trust your senses, don't trust what you see, don't
A
trust what you
blind
study.
childlike faith.
Yeah, exactly. Just be totally blind, just like a blind child. That's why they call you a sheep. And so what I've said, that if I can work with people, if I can teach people how to think through this whole process, number one, it'll give them a different viewpoint on religion. It'll make them hopefully think differently about religion. But even if they remain devout or believe in what they believe in, at least they can say, well, I thought through this. And even though, what I'm believing don't make a lot of sense, I'm still going to believe. At least I have the information, and at least I went through the thought process. And then I said, if we can do that with people, if we can get people to think through religion, then we can get them to think through every other aspect of their life. And I think they'll be better people. We'll all be better people. This will be a better world if we can logically think through everything. But it has to begin with religion, especially for us, because religion has the largest impact on the way we think, especially as African Americans. It shapes everything about our life. Everything. Before I get this job, I got to pray about it. Before I go, when I get up in the morning, I got to pray about it. My kids, I got to pray that they do well in school. If they do well in school, it's all because of God. I mean, every element of our existence as African Americans, it has something to do with God. We see it through the prism of religion and God and Jesus. And I just want us to do a better job of thinking through this whole process and asking the questions and doing our due diligence and then saying, you know what, I never thought about it like that. Maybe I need to dial back a little bit and go at this a different way. And that's why we do that. And so what you said, Sharon, about the whole Jim Jones syndrome, we just follow whatever, it's absolute. And we need this. We need for us to ask questions of each other about our faith and our religion. Because we get indoctrinated really early and we just kind of follow suit. We just kind of go right along with it until we die, and we never ask questions, and we miss so much in life because this is what we're focused on. There's so much more to life than just am I saved and am I going to heaven? So yeah, very illogical. But we wanted to just switch a little bit and get into prayer and praying. Does prayer work? I mean, that's
on the sound effect for it.
That's rhetorical, especially to this group, to this audience. That is a rhetorical statement. But there are a lot of people in our community, a vast majority of them, that really believe that prayer works, right? And I've never understood how you can, on one hand, say that God has a plan and is already laid out, but yet you still pray. Are you praying that God changes his plan? Mm-hmm. And if he changes his plan, then that means he's not who he say he is, right?
Right.
But then on the flip side of that, you'll say, well, stuff happens because man has free will. Well, if we have free will, then why are you praying that God changes the way things are supposed to be? Right. So I just never understood. And so, and I'll let Taisha get into this, but let me just say this real quick about prayer. We know from a scientific standpoint that prayer does not work. Well, how do we know that? Because the Templeton Foundation and other organizations have done years and years and years of studies on prayer. If you're not familiar with the Templeton Foundation, go do the research, look it up. But Templeton Foundation is a religious-centered organization here in the United States, and they've done some of the most popular and well-known studies on prayer. The most recent one, it took place, they used about 6 different medical facilities, 1,800, I think, or so individuals took place. And what they did was they divided the people up into 3 groups. One group, nobody was praying for them. This is intercessory prayer. Nobody was praying for them. The second group, some people were praying for them. I think, people praying for them. And the third group is that people praying for them, and they knew that people were praying for them. Mm-hmm. And they all had the same, ailments. I think it was heart disease or whatever. They all had the same ailments. And the study found out that not only were there really no differences between the 3 groups, actually the group of people that knew that people were praying for them, they actually got worse. They actually got slightly worse.
Wow.
Right? And this is a historical study that's out there. You can Google it. You can look it up. This is one of many, many studies that they've done. Through all these studies over the last couple of 100 years, they've never, ever been able to find a connection between prayer and people getting better. Mm-hmm. So the conclusion is, and this is a religious organization. The conclusion is that prayer does not work. Prayer doesn't make a difference in anything. And so with that, I'll let Taisha join in.
Before I get started, I just want to say hi to my other mommy, Betty Porter. How are you doing? Oh my gosh, I have to get you a copy. No, did I send it? Yes, she has the other copy of your book. So this is what I was telling you. Well, what I was telling you about. So great. Yeah, the thing with prayer, I think it's we talked about this before, where was it, a benefit or, a waste of time, a placebo effect, all that. And it's like, yeah, okay, it'll feel good. And then once, you leave organized religion and you become spiritual, you're manifesting. But my thing of it is at times I feel it is an insult, because when I go to different social media posts, especially, when we see injustice done to Black people, and we'll see a whole bunch of people in the comments, prayers, oh my gosh, I'm praying, Lord be with you. And so I have a meme I actually put up. It's like a empty flatbed truck, and it's like it's full of thoughts and prayers. And it's like that's just, to me, it's like a slur. It's a slur when, if you reach out and say, hey, I've been wronged or something's been done, you don't need my prayers, you need action. And I think that goes hand in hand with this fasting and praying. It just makes you feel good and feel like you're doing something, like you're joining hands. When I was a little girl, I used to watch the Care Bears. So you remember the Care Bears that join hands, and it's like, you know, lovely bear, generosity bear, and their little beam will come up and Care Bears activate. I think that's how they feel when they say, okay, I'm getting together with my prayer warriors, going to just do that.
Mhm.
But no, we need action. Do something, be of service. And that's how I feel about that.
Absolutely. Let me say, we have the Afro Humanist. Hello, hello, hello. I'm so glad that you joined us, guys. Taisha and we are big on supporting other platforms, other people who are in this space or whatever that's out there doing that. Especially people that look like us. And so I always tell you to support Taisha. Please support Taisha's channel and her efforts. Also, the Afro Humanist has a great channel. Please support her. Her channel is awesome. I was on your channel a few weeks ago, and I made a comment that someone from this came back and said that we should get together and do something. So maybe we can get together and do something. But you guys, please support the Afro Humanist. She has wonderful, wonderful topics. And Taisha is showing her page right now. So we are so glad to have her join us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Betty Porter, thank you for getting the book, and hopefully you're enjoying the book, and I would love to hear your feedback. The Caribbean Skeptics, Secularists, glad to have you. I don't know if this is your first time, but we are so happy to have you on here as well. So thank you for that. Let's see who else. Yeah, what is it? Adios, Truth. Let's pray and do absolutely nothing. Yeah, I think Taisha summed it up perfectly. These people get together and we're gonna do intercessory prayer, and it make them feel so good because they've done absolutely nothing. And if you like me, I mean, I don't know, I think I have 1,500, 1,800 people on my Facebook page. And any given moment that I go there is always, we need to pray for this. We need to pray for this person. We need to pray for this person. We need to, everybody agreeing. And it just drives me crazy because I'm not part of that. I'm not part of the cult anymore. But yeah, so it is crazy. So we talked about the whole prayer thing, and we know that prayer doesn't work. But it is a thing, I think, that some people feel good about themselves, even though it's like a placebo. And I think it's designed to be that way. There is nothing tangible. And I've made this challenge to people before. I said, you can pray, or you can pray and do something, or you can just do something. You're going to get the same results if you pray and do something as if you do something. But you're not going to get any results if you just pray. And then they come back with this, well, prayer without work is dead. No, just praying is dead. If you do the work, you're going to get a result. So that's just one of those things, again, one of those things that's traditional that we say because it sounds good and we've heard it throughout our entire life from the church, but we don't put any thought behind it. If I'm going to do the work, why the hell do I need to pray? So if I'm gonna pray, then why do I have to do the work? Because if I'm gonna pray, then that means that my God is gonna fix it for me. But yet I still got to go out here and do the work.
And that's one thing, like majority of the issues that I faced in life, or, situations that I've come into, God hasn't come through not once. It's always been another person, and it came from me not like, okay, I could sit here and pray and keep everything in my mind, but nothing happened. But once I opened my mouth and reached out and networked and talked to people or saw resources to help me solve their problem, that's when the problem was solved and I received what I needed versus, it that's just it.
Wow. Okay. So The Caribbean Skeptics Secularist, TCSS. She has a channel as well, right? I guess a she. I hope I'm saying she. We need to follow her and support her as well. And she also mentioned, she's like, I got thoughts and prayers from Christian friends when I suffered a double heart attack on February 20th this year and during my ongoing recovery. First of all, we are happy that you're here with us and that you are doing well. We really are. But yeah, it's I don't know, that whole prayer and thought. I guess it's a way that they can feel like they're doing something when they're really not doing anything. I think you also mentioned about your doctors and nurses, and I really hate seeing, and my wife spent, I don't know, 10, 15 years as a nurse. And so I really hate seeing us being in a predicament, having a medical ailment or whatever, and we're in the hospital, and these doctors who've gone to school and these nurses who've gone to school for years and years and sacrificed and did all this training, all this work, um, and they do everything that they can to make us better. And when we are better, the first thing that we say is, "Well, thank God." And sometimes that's the only thing that we say. These doctors and orderlies and nurses, and everybody that's responsible for you getting better, the rehab people, everybody. We never give them credit. It's always, "Well, God, oh, thank God." If your God was real or if your God was worth anything, you wouldn't have been in that predicament to begin with. So I don't get that. And then this whole, well, God gave them the knowledge to do,
Negative. There's a reason why when you call the ambulance, it takes you directly to the ER, not the church.
not the church, right? Absolutely. And there's a reason why, you see things happen in the church, in the hospital, that you don't see happen in the church. If the people in the church was healing people, or through God they were healing people, then they would be in the hospitals healing people. But you never see them there. Never see them there. And even, let's say that you part of a church, right? And you're in the hospital. The pastor may come by and see you to say hi, but he's not coming there to heal you. That's not his job, because he can't heal
That's
you
like
even
in the
through God.
military, the chaplain is there because those who are serving have a right to, religious freedoms. That's why the chaplain's there, not because, it's like, hey, the chaplain's going to stop the war and do anything like that. No.
Yeah, it's just it is really crazy that we can't think beyond that. Um, and so what is it? Or you hear, "I am blessed." All the time, and it's always us. We could be doing the most wretched thing, right? We could be involved in the most immoral and wretched thing, but if it's to our benefit, or we receive a benefit from it, whether it be an award, or whether it be amount of money, or a good life, or whatever it is, the first thing we do is give credit to God. And I'm just thinking to myself, that's not how I was raised. I wasn't raised to believe that if I'm selling drugs and killing my community, somehow God is in this. And maybe he is, but
God
that's
kept
not
me from getting shot when I was on the
right.
block.
Exactly right. I'm just, but I wasn't raised like that, so I don't get that. Or if I make the most wretched song ever, and an awards group gives me an award on national television or whatever, and I get out there, and the first thing I say, "Well, I want to thank God for this award." But you just made the most wretched song ever. Like, God is like bumping his head. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's my jam. Yeah, 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 yeah. That's right. That's right.
That's how it is. I don't watch the award shows or nothing, but I can assume that, I can't stand uh Cardi B. I can't stand her, but I'm pretty sure after she finished her, grinding on the ground and, act on stage in front of millions, and it was broadcast in millions upon millions of homes, she got up there. "First of all, I would like to thank God for this award, my Lord and Savior." I'm pretty sure that's how it went. And I'm gonna stop there because I don't want to have, her peoples come after me. But I'm just saying, this is just, God didn't bless that. That's not blessed. That's not good.
And so it's not she's I'm sure she does it, and it's her and it's other artists as well. Um
Name
I
Greg.
I I have the privilege of being friends with someone whose their son is a really, really popular rap artist. Since you brought up Cardi B, wink, wink. I we've been friends for 20, 20 plus years, and they are wonderful people. I knew the mother and the stepfather separately, and then they got together. But they are wonderful, wonderful people. And the mother is very devout, she very much a Christian. And even the rapper who's now a rap artist, I had opportunity to be part of a mentoring group when he was a little kid, and we mentored him, and so I knew of him before he became famous. I knew him pretty well and his family. One of the things that I had a hard time wrapping my head around was the type of music that he made. And it wasn't really the type of music, because I listened to, I listened to NWA when I was growing up. It wasn't that. It was the fact that I saw a devout parent who kind of was like, well, now that this is my child doing this, seemed to be okay with it. Even though it didn't represent what her upbringing, Christian upbringing was. And I know you have no control over your grown kids. I just thought that it was just, I've always thought that was kind of weird. I've never, said anything to them about that. That's not my place. We're friends. I'm glad that the son is successful. I love, the whole family, but it's just one of those things that, again, when we talk about our faith, or when Christians talk about their faith, is it something that's selective? Is it something that's convenient? So I've always kind of wondered about that. And I say this, and I can say this with a clear conscience. Had that been me, had I became a rap artist that made what my mother thought was immoral music, she would tell me every single day that is garbage, that is trash. Every single day, she would not revel in it. I probably couldn't even give her any of the money from it, because that's how devout my mother was about that. She didn't even like me having a tattoo, or holes with pants with holes in them. She was just that devout. So I kind of look at it, and I know it's a completely different generation, but it's one of those things that I just kind of think about. Yeah. So yeah. But anyway, prayer, it doesn't work. I don't know why we still. I know we do it because we have to have something. There's this thing where we have to have something to believe in. Outside of us, we have to have something to believe in that's more powerful than us. Because when we get to our wits' end, or when we can do everything that we can do, it is human nature to want to believe there is something beyond us that can fix the problem. But when you pray, and you don't get the results, I think I might have told this story before. I met this minister guy at it wasn't a house party, but somebody's birthday party. We were kind of over there. And I kind of walked in, and him and this other guy was talking. I didn't know he was a minister at the time. Him and this other guy was talking. We got into a conversation. And I let it be known that I was no longer a believer. And so we kind of had a discussion about all of that. And he and I became Facebook friends or whatever. We kind of follow each other on Instagram and Facebook. And then we had another conversation one day, and we talked about praying and everything. And then he revealed to me that he had a situation. He said that his young child, and a member of his church, young child, both got diagnosed with almost a terminal illness. I think it was like maybe brain cancer. Young kids, right? And he said, obviously, they prayed. They both prayed. He prayed with the family prayed with him. His child, the pastor's child, came through, made it, got, beat it or whatever. But the church member's child passed away, died from the cancer. And I asked him, I said, how does that gel with you? How do you tell this member of your church that both of you guys prayed, even intercessory prayer, and yet this God found reason to save your child, but not this child? And he said it was hard. He said it was really difficult. He really, it's nothing tangible. It's nothing to see. You can tell people what they want to hear. But I've never lost a child, right? And I would never, because I don't have any kids, but I can't imagine anything worse than losing a child. And for you to tell me something, well, the child is in a better place. or God needed that child. I mean, it's just that's craziness to me. If I had a child and that happened to my child, and someone told me that, I could see myself punching that person in the face. I really could see myself punching that person in the face. So I think we get caught up in this whole prayer thing. It work, it doesn't work, and it's a placebo for people. And when you don't get the results that you're praying for, how do people deal with that? I really just deal with it from the beginning. There is no God, at least in the context that we're talking about in the Bible, in my opinion. Prayer doesn't work. There's no higher power outside of us, an entity called a God or a deity that's going to fix our problems or whatever. And so now that I know that, let me just deal with life as it comes. And that's how I've been able to deal with since leaving the church in 2015. That's how I've been able to deal with it. Taisha, you got something? Let me read some of these comments.
Yes, absolutely. With that, it brings to mind a movie, one of my favorite movies. I love horror films. So one of my favorite movies is 30 Days of Night. And if you're not familiar with 30 Days of Night, it's when the vampires come in and they attack this just secluded town in Alaska because they have 30 days of night. And one of the scenes in there, there's a lady and she's been, taken captive by the vampires and they're using her as bait to draw out, other people hiding. So when the vampires are getting ready to kill her, she's like, I think it says she falls and she's begging for her life and she's like, "Oh God." And the vampires, they really didn't speak English, that whole time. But then at that moment, the vampire that's about to kill her, he says, "God," and he looks around, no God. And then they kill her. And I think that right there in film, that was really powerful because it's like you'll have people begging for their lives. Prior to coming on this video, someone tagged me in a video on Twitter. A sister who's being arrested violently arrested for not signing a ticket, and as she's getting thrown onto the ground, she's like, "Jesus help me," because there is a male who's recording the whole thing while she's being thrown around like a rag doll. And she's like, "Oh, Jesus." And that's why I just had to just click it off. But nothing, no divine intervention came through to stop that situation. So to me, absolute waste of time. As a Sharon, our future nutritionist, as well as Brother Willie and his wife, who actually put, intermittent fasting to use for their health, I'm behind it 100%. But the other reasons are really silly, to think it's going to bring you closer to God or whatever you define as this ultimate being. Do it for yourself. You're doing it for your health, your longevity, and your well-being. And that's all I got.
Yeah, for those people who believe in prayer, believe prayer works, all I do is ask. I just point you to history. I point you to the 12 million or so people of African descent that died during slavery and the transatlantic slave trade, the millions or more who died during Jim Crow and segregation and all of that, and what's happening to our people right now. If we're the most devout people on the face of the earth, and we're the most religious people on the face of the earth, then why are we serving a God who is apparently, obviously, and with proof, totally abandoned us as a people? All the prayers and the shouts that we sent up, you look at our community and the condition that our community is in, and look at how we're treated as a collective group. That in itself should tell you that prayer does not work, or at least we're praying to the wrong God. So yeah, some of these comments, let's see. Till X, you're in 1,000 prayers. Oh, I hate that. Beige Price, imagine laying on a surgical table and doctors are standing around and praying instead of operating. Yeah, you would be dead. I would be so pissed. um, let's see. What else we got? Amanda. Amanda found a parking spot close to the door at Walmart. Look at every day. I see it all the time. I found a parking spot. I found my keys just in time. Look at God. Yeah. TCSS, praise to the imaginary sky daddy. That antidote doesn't work as evidence for. Exactly. Hit the like button. Yeah. TCSS beige price. you're wondering what is going on, and I will get off off the table and run, but then they will claim prayer work. You're right. They'll find some kind of way. God is the only person who gets credit for all the good and none of the blame for the bad. I just, he's in a no lose situation, right? Let's see. Adios. What is it? Stay home. Stay home. Comment. Crab fall. I guess I missed that. Uh, Prayers are nothing but wishful thinking. Absolutely, Afro humanist. Absolutely, it is wishful thinking at its worst, right? Bayes Price. I think the ones who did worse in the surgery recovery press study is because they didn't try hard with the exercise afterwards. Let Jesus do the work. Yeah, I think that's funny. I think what I've read on that is what they think happened is that the people who knew they were getting prayed for felt a little bit more stressed because they either felt that because they were being prayed for, the situation must be worse than what they originally thought, or it's so much stress on them to make this God prayer thing work until the stress is adding to their condition. Those are the two theories that I've read about that study. At the end of the day, it just doesn't work. How about that? Our logic boom, TCSS. They would say it was God's will always. Um, Appreciate that, Amanda. Let's see this. Most of the time, people pick and choose Bible verses to fit the situation of the moment. Sharon, they do that all the time about everything. Neo X, he said, "Hey Willie, how can I reach you for an interview, brother?" You can you can call me, man. Let me give you our number. You can reach me 404-932-0924. You can leave me a message on this on my YouTube channel. I see all the messages. It'd be fantastic. Would love to do it. Thank you. TCSS even thought the scripture saying where two or more are gathered in my name, I will hear and do as asked. Yeah, and it doesn't work. All of that. Let's see. Amanda, God reached another flower in the heavenly garden. Oh, yeah, like I said, I'd just be ready to punch somebody in the face. Bayes Price and Nearby Church did that to stop the gay parade. A press circle parade still happened, and the Ribbon Skeptic TCSS. Yeah, that's one day we're gonna get into all of that too, but it's just crazy. Let's see. TCSS, let's see. Price. Yep, nothing feels like prayer. Yeah, I've seen that before too. There's who the guy that interviewed me for Freedom for Religion Foundation, very popular. It's a couple of books. I forgot his name. Very popular guy. He used to be a minister. He became an atheist, wrote a bunch of books. He runs the Freedom for Religion Foundation. He interviewed me a while back, and that's one of the things he says all the time. Nothing feels like prayer. Sharon F. I lost a child, and there's no comfort to hear that from people. I was in a full family of prayer warriors. So where was this God? I've always given all of myself to sickness and helping others. Absolutely, Sharon. Sharon, so sorry to hear about that. I can't even imagine. I won't even attempt to imagine that. I think that has to be like the worst thing. But again, we're glad to have you on here, and that's what this channel is for. We can come on, we can vent, we can talk about these things. And so glad to have you. Glad to have you every week that you come. M. Dazat. I don't know if you're new, M, but we're glad to have you. If this is not your first time, you're welcome. So my question has always been, if it's God's will, why are people praying to change? God is a no-lose situation. Bro, that is the most logical thing that we can say to people. Why are we praying for something that God has already said gonna happen? You're right, absolutely. But you know what? That's logic. So if you ask that of a believer, they're gonna find a way to kind of weasel out of it. But it is logic, and they can't handle logic. And it is the last one. Let's see. I think it's more coming. Let's see. It says more. Okay, a few more. TCSS. If I had the power that they claim that God has, I will heal the ills because of the humanness I feel for others and want better for them. No free will crap needed. And so TCSS, I was thinking about this morning. I said, because I'm always thinking about, I said, if I was God and this, the God that they've created in their mind, but if I had all power, or whatever, there would be a minimum, right? First of all, every person on the planet would have shelter and food and water without having to pay for it, right? That's just basic, like you said, because it's the humanity in me. Secondly, every person would have an opportunity to live to a certain age. Like no child would die. Like no 3-year old, no 8-year old, no 14-year old, no child would die. I would say you get at least 50 years. And then after that, whatever, right? It would just be some things that I would just, and to me, because that's unconditional love, that's the human. If this God is real and this God can do any and everything. So I'm with you on that. Till X said, right. Neo said, okay, thanks. So yeah, Neo, yeah, let me know, man. Anytime. I'm good. Dan Barker, absolutely. TCSS. Yeah, Dan interviewed me probably about a year ago. He got the book from somebody and he loved the book, my book. And so he found me. Actually, he a quick story. This gentleman in Alabama, he started following me on social media, country dude, and he found out I was from Birmingham originally. We kind of struck up a conversation, friendship. Come to find out, he's an attorney. His law school partner was my undergrad roommate from undergrad in college. Great friend of mine. Great. He was a judge, an attorney, and judge. Great. We've been friends since we were kids. So we kind of had that in common. We started talking. I told him about my book. He was one of the first people to buy the book. Loved the book. He bought 2 or 3 other copies. Then he called me when he said, you know what, I'm going to send this to Dan Barker. I said, well, I'm familiar with Dan Barker, but I doubt if we hear anything back. A few months later, he texted me. He called me. My wife coming from the gym, he called me. It's a real country accent. Hey, Willie. I said, yeah, what's up, Jerry? He said, Dan, love your book. He wants to interview. He wants to interview you. And so Dan called me up. I was shocked to get the call. He called me up and we did an interview. We talked about the book. But yeah, so Dan is a good guy. He's supposed to be trying to get my book with another publisher. Haven't heard anything from that yet. But yeah. At Save the Same, Dan Barker. Oh, you saw it. Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, you can see the interview at Save the Same, Dan Barker. I guess they archived it so you can find the interviews. I might have it on my YouTube channel somewhere as well. I can't. My wife probably put it on there as well. Would you ever do a stream discussion free? Would you ever do a stream discussing free will? Absolutely. And that is the dude. Thank you. If you're new, glad to have you. If you're not, then glad to have you back. But that's a wonderful. That may be our next topic, free will, and the reason why I haven't approached it yet. Free will is one of these things that we really put a lot of stock into, and there's different approaches and different ways to come at free will. It's something that I want to do, and I want to do it justice. So yeah, we will probably do free will, and maybe that'll be the next thing. Because that's something that we really need to talk about. I think that'll be a great discussion. So I appreciate that. Guys, it has been, an hour and 7 minutes. So I'm a little over, but how often do you come on, Amanda? I'm glad you said that because I got to make an announcement. So we had been doing it every week. I missed the last couple of weeks because, and Taisha's back. Let me get her back on here.
He was on that mission trip.
I was on a mission trip as Taisha. I went down to see what you got me doing. I went down to Central America to save souls. But we've been doing it every week. And then I missed the last couple of weeks with my wife when I was on vacation, did some stuff. We're going to do it next week. And then after that, we're going to probably move it to every other week, Amanda. So we'll probably do it every other week. Reason being is because, and I don't know if I made the announcement, but I will be in school working on a master's degree in this subject matter, religious studies. Fully funded, stipend. I will be a research assistant as well. So I'm just not doing this. This is life for me for the remainder of my life. Probably pursue a PhD so I can teach this. It is before interview, and I know you guys will because you guys are a lot brighter. But anytime I tell this to somebody and they know me, the first thing they get puzzled. Then they say, I said, no, this is not theology. It is not ministry. As a matter of fact, it is the opposite. And then the next comments out of their mouth is like, oh my God, I would love to be in that classroom when you start. Even with the classes, because they figure that I'm going to challenge the professors, but I'm going to Georgia State, which is a state college. It's not a seminary school. It is a regular college, and I'm assuming there are people in there for everything from devout believers to atheists. It's something that I decided I wanted to do at this stage in my life is to kind of pursue this further because I want to teach people again how to think through this process. I want to be able to talk about this and lecture about this more so and make sure that I have the correct information, the information that I need, and get the research behind me. And so we may be looking at doing a PhD somewhere as well. My wife is 100% supportive. Um, Matter of fact, she pushed me to do it. So yeah, so we'll be starting classes in 2 weeks. The orientation is next week, and we'll start classes, and so it's going to be great. So because of that, we'll probably have to move this to every other week, but this will continue, and so it would be every other week after next week. So we'll do next week, and then we'll do every other week. And if things change because of my school schedule, I will let you know. But right now, even we may have to move it back to 6 o'clock on Wednesday. But I think Wednesday's an early day for me. So we'll see. But right now, next week, and then I'll let you know more next week. But anticipate on it being every other week after next week. So thank you for that. Somebody said Afro Humans and Mission Trip. Yeah, Tayshia's trying to be funny. She, the dude, I think we'll make an interesting discussion because based on the Jacob and Esau story, it does sound like the Bible even supports free will. Yeah, I've heard people on both sides of the argument. So maybe we will do free will next week. On that, so I appreciate that. But thank you for that topic. Thank you, Amanda. I appreciate that. Yep. Thank you, Afro Humanist. Sharon, miss you all. I'll be back in school in 2 weeks. Good. Congratulations. Good reading, Brother Willie. Thank you so much. Beige Price, good thinking. Thank you. TCSS, thank you so much. I appreciate all of that. How many souls did you win? I should have counted, right? It's I get people who like you're doing the devil's work. You're running people away. You're making so. That's funny. I don't know. When I do save someone, so you'll be the first to know Afro Humanist. But yeah, but Afro Humanist, let's try to get something down.
Definitely do that.
Come on your
Team
show.
Link up.
Taisha, you know what you got, but Taisha got her hands full. She's doing a bunch of stuff. So, but yeah, I'm willing and ready. I've watched some of your shows, Afro Humanist, and I appreciate. First of all, your shows are so well done, and I appreciate that they are so well done. The information. So yeah, so I would be excited. It would be wonderful. We can get on there. We can get going. So absolutely. But that is about it for me. Thank you guys so much. I'm so happy to be back. I'm glad I'm back to do this. I miss you guys, and you guys have a great rest of the week. What's Taisha channel? She'll tell you. Taisha, what's your channel?
Yes, like I said, this was absolutely great. If I can leave you with something to put on your mind is that like you never know who's watching. They may not comment, they may not share it, but I've gotten some feedback from some people who say they watch our content. It puts them on their mind. They were quick to wanting to defend their position, but they were open to hearing another side and just having people like us who are real life people. Like I'm not I don't know, one of the mega church preachers or whatever, but I'm a regular person, but I don't think in the group think I don't follow, the monkey see, monkey do, although the monkey paw is going around. So be careful, out there. But yes, but my channel is Taisha Essex. It's my name, Taisha Essex. Right now I'm kind of focusing on maternity content, but I have a lot of content that I need to put out, such as like home security. Also have my self-defense brand, Timonics. You can find me at TaishaEssex.com, across social media as Taisha Essex, as well as Timonics.com. That's TIEMONEX.com. And then you can find me on Timonics. So that's what I got going on. Yeah, my content, I'm trying to, now that I have this ball of energy right now in this third trimester, get as much content as I can, because I know my time is going to be a little occupied toward the end of the year, but I'll definitely be around in the comments and supporting as well. So thank you.
Yeah, and Taisha has a lot of old material on there. Not old in the sense old, but stuff that
It
you
is. It's over 300 videos over there, but
exactly. So
yeah.
she has a lot of material, stuff that you can take a look at.
I
So yeah,
want just
just
watch
go
the
and take a
one
look at
where
it.
I was like the what was it? The Jesus freaks on the ferry getting on my nerves. That's like
That's one of my
favorite.
favorite.
That's the
That's
favorite.
one of my favorite. Actually, that might have been the first one I saw of you after we kind of connected, and I watched that whole thing, and I was looking at your son, and I was like, "Yo, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen?" And it was great. So yeah, so we need to support each other. Anything that we can do, we can collaborate with each other, we can support each other's channels. Anything we can do, bring other people to the channels. Those of you out there who have channels, I would love to be on there, and vice versa. TCSS, Neo X, and the Afro Humanist. Let's make it happen. Let's do something. This is much needed in our community because so many of us out here, we don't know how to connect with one another. We all we see is the church crowd, but there's so many of us out here that's everything from I got questions about my faith to full-fledged atheism, and everything in between. Let's make this happen. There are generations that's coming up behind us that are not part of the church and don't want to be part of the church and don't want to be part of any faith, and they're looking for an outlet. They're looking for older people that look like them, that's been there, done that. And so that's another reason why I started this channel. There are a number of resources out there just like us. But let's make this happen. Let's make this bigger. Let's make this an arena for others who think like us or who may want to think like us, or even if they just have questions, right? So let's make it happen. So I'm so glad to have you guys. Thank you so much. I am grateful that you guys are here and joining. I love the comments, love the questions. And so tune in next week, same time next Wednesday, 5:00, and we will get it going in. Thank you, Taisha. Thank you, Taisha. So you and the family,
Thank
stay
you.
good, stay up, and you guys enjoy your rest of your week. And I will see you guys next week.
Be blessed, beloveds.
Taisha, Neil wants you to drop your link.
Okay.
Well, so that's all that. Let's see.